Welcome. This presentation will cover the released annotated anchors for the English Language Arts Performance Task Essays from the ILEARN Released Items repository. Annotated anchor papers for the released performance tasks are available for grades 3, 4, 5, and 8. Currently, we do not have anchors available for grades 6 and 7. However, grades 6 through 8 use the same rubrics for the argumentative tasks, so the annotations may be helpful for understanding application of the rubrics at the other grade levels. There are a few important things to note about the annotations provided. These notes are included in the documents. First, all released anchors come from a pilot test. The pilot test did not specifically ask students to cite or use multiple sources. Current performance tasks, including the ones available in the Released Items repository, specifically tell students to attribute information to reference materials and use multiple sources. Some of the anchors may reference sources, like a video in grade 5, that are not a part of the current released items. The conventions anchors come from samples of other performance tasks. The analysis of grade-specific conventions, however, is not genre-specific. Therefore, educators can use the anchors regardless of the task. There are 3 rubrics used to score each response. 2 of the 3 rubrics are genre-specific. These rubrics can be found on our website on the ILEARN Sample Items and Scoring page. They are also available in the item specifications and the Released Items repository scoring guides. These anchors are examples of student responses at each score point of the rubrics. In most cases, there are 2 anchors for every score point. This is helpful in seeing how different responses achieve the same score. The anchor annotations reference aspects of the relevant rubric. The next slides provide examples of this. This is a grade 4 anchor for a response receiving a 2 in organization and purpose in the informational rubric. The task asks students to write an informational article that will be displayed with a science fair project about animals and where they live. The audience is other students, teachers, and parents. The annotations describe how this anchor paper fits the aspects of the rubric for the score point for the organization and purpose rubric. In this anchor, the description of the response's general focus on ecosystems is representative of the first bullet point about the controlling or main idea of a topic. This is another grade 4 anchor for a response receiving a 2 in organization and purpose. This annotation addresses the first bullet point but notes that the focus on animal habitats and survival is mostly sustained, which is more typical of a higher score point. However, it goes on to say that the response overall has an inconsistent organizational structure and that this inconsistency contributes to a holistic score of 2 for purpose and organization. Returning to the first example of Anchor Response 3, the annotations say the introduction is weak and there is no conclusion. This is descriptive of a paper at this score point. Anchor Response 4 is similar to Anchor Response 3 in that there is no conclusion and a weak opening. Other aspects of Anchor Responses 3 and 4 have similarities and differences that show holistic achievement of the same score point for organization and purpose. It is also helpful to look at aspects of responses that have received different score points. This is a grade 3 anchor for a response receiving a 3 in evidence and elaboration in the informational rubric. Students were asked to write an informational article on astronauts for a bulletin board display in the school library. In this annotation, it notes that the response has little specific elaboration or development of details. However, the response incorporates commentary to serve as an elaborative strategy. This contributes to adequate use of some elaborative techniques. This is another grade 3 anchor, but it receives a 4 in evidence and elaboration. Please see the anchor annotations for the complete anchor. This response incorporates a variety of elaborative techniques that are used effectively, including scenarios and examples, commentary, and speculation. Traits of the responses can be traced through the annotated anchors and provide insight into the proficiency necessary with different aspects of the rubrics to achieve various score points. While the following slides call out specific examples in scoring, it's important to keep in mind that rubrics are applied holistically, and elements are not considered in isolation. Certain aspects of formulaic writing can contribute to the score of a response. Both of these annotations come from grade 8. In the first example, from a 2-point annotation, formulaic transitions are consistently appropriate but provide little variety. In higher score points, responses incorporate variety to clarify relationships between and among ideas. In the second example, from a 3-point annotation, overuse of formulaic phrases distract and interfere with a smooth reading. In a higher score point, responses have strong connections between and among ideas with some syntactic variety. Some annotations address copying text from sources. There are varying degrees of this, and responses can do this to the point where they are no longer able to be scored using the rubric. These examples are responses that have enough original writing that can be scored. The first example is a 1-point annotation for 4th grade. The response has little development, and one example is mostly copied from a source, making evidence minimal and predominantly copied. The second example is a 3-point annotation for 3rd grade. Adequate evidence is provided, but a few details are copied but not attributed or quoted. In this instance, the response more holistically fits the 3-point score despite having some copied details. The rubric at 2 points states, some evidence from the source material may be weakly integrated, imprecise, repetitive, vague, and/or copied. For language conventions, the rubrics and annotations indicate that the variety, severity, and density of errors contribute to the score. Responses do not have to be perfect to achieve a 2, and there are examples of responses with errors receiving 2 points. Issues with punctuation and sentence formation are considered different types of errors. As noted in the annotations, to be considered conventions errors, errors with sentence structure must be correctable with punctuation. All ILEARN resources, including the released items repository, rubrics, and scoring notes, can be accessed from this link. This link will regularly be updated as we add new resources. If you have further questions, comments, or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact the Office of Student Assessment. Please contact Justin Mokas for questions about grades 3 through 5 and Aaron Thompson for questions about grades 6 through 8.